All right, so I don't really know who I'm talking to. I think Ruth, you're probably watching this, and maybe a group of like young women, some 10th graders, maybe an individual young woman, I don't know. But hey, my name is Blake. If I haven't met you before, it's nice to meet you. I'm making this video because Ruth had emailed a group of guys she knows who she respects just some questions to try to get us to respond to, and then share our responses with you, maybe as an example of what loving masculinity might look like. So I've got this list of questions right here that she emailed, and I spent probably 5 minutes thinking through how to respond, and I really don't have anything solid to say, so I'm just going to kind of improvise this, and I'm sorry if it's sloppy, and I'm sure I'm going to trip up on my words and everything, but hopefully it will be a blessing to you. So, your questions, here we go. So, first question is, how can you tell if a guy / man, big difference, seriously, if a guy / man cares about a girl / woman? Ruth says, I think this one is the most important if only you have time for one. So how can you tell if a guy cares for a woman? With time and with great caution, I think. It depends on where you are sort of in your maturity and what the people you are like are with. Here's what I mean. As a 10th grader, who the people that surround you in your community, if you and the people that you're in community with aren't committed to love, by the way, I should probably throw this out here. So I take my faith extremely seriously. I follow Jesus. He is my Lord and my King. And Jesus says what is most important is to love God and to love neighbor, and to do that with all your heart and soul and strength and might and all that stuff. And so I take that very seriously, and so my commitment is to be a man who is becoming more and more of an expert in love of neighbor and love of God. And so, okay, so that's going to shape a lot of my words. Back to what I was saying, if you, as a female in 10th grade, if you yourself and the people that you're in community with, those who surround you, if they aren't committed to love and sacrificial love and to God's ways, then in a sense, I just think you're at a great disadvantage in comparison to someone who has been seeking how to love, what love looks like, and is immersed in other people who are committed to pursuing love and seeing what love looks like and living it out. Because you learn to detect it the more committed you are to it. And so to see, to be able to discern if a guy cares for you or not, for the situation of not being devoted to love and having a community that is not devoted to love, then I just think you're at a huge disadvantage. And I think for a person like that, then one would need a lot of time and a lot of caution. You would need to not assume that they care about you. Not assume they don't care about you, but not assume that they care about you. And then spend plenty of time with that person in a protective way, in a friend sort of capacity, and really try to learn and discern if they care for you. And then talk about it with other people, get other people to look in on the person and the friendship is forming, and see if there's consensus. And yeah, I think the more committed you are to love, and the more committed the people who are looking in on that relationship or that guy are to love, the faster they will be able to discern that. So if there's someone in your life you know who loves God and has a life that is fragrant to you, like Ruth, I hope you feel that way about her, then get those people to speak into it, and maybe that would help you to discern whether or not they care, because it would be hard to tell otherwise. It's easy to mask. I just want to say something real fast about Ruth. I probably should have put this in right in the beginning. Now, I just want to lift Ruth up to you women who have her as your teacher. So I'm 30 years old, and I'm a single guy, and I've known Ruth for probably 3 years now, and I've been very connected with her family, and I spent a lot of time with her younger brother, and so I've been able to see Ruth from afar, and I've been able to see her mature and develop over the past 3 or 4 years. And here's what I want you to hear from my mouth. I hold Ruth in extraordinarily high regard and high esteem, and I think you would do very well, any young woman would do very well to examine Ruth's life and try to absorb wisdom from her and try to live life like she does and try to see reality like she does, because I just think some people just don't live well. Some people just don't live life well. They live life sloppily. And Ruth is not one of those people. She lives life well and thoughtfully, and God is with her. So that's Ruth. All right, so next question. Sorry if I'm wordy, by the way. I'm notoriously wordy. Number 2, how does the way that girls dress affect guys/men? Wow, there are a lot of ways to respond to that. I'm going to try to keep this simple. I've been seeing a girl for about 2.5 months, and one of the things that initially really attracted me to this girl is she is a stunningly beautiful woman. But when I had first seen her, she was wearing, I remember the top, I remember the jeans. She was wearing clothes that were so modest. And maybe that's just a weird word for me to say, for you to hear me say. But when I saw this girl, I thought, how could this woman be so stunning and yet still be the kind of woman who dresses modestly, who doesn't flaunt how stunning she is, that she's, I don't know, she's wonderful. So, I don't know, I can just say that for a man who is committed to love and who is committed to protecting the women that he loves, modesty is good. And you will attract a particular type of man by not flaunting your body, as beautiful as it may be, but instead letting it be mysterious and letting it be protected and reserved for a special man. So I would encourage modesty, but that probably sounds pretty lame. I'm dead serious though. So number 3, what kind of virtues or character qualities does a guy look for in a girl? I mean, number 1 for me, and this may be hard for you to relate to, number 1 for me is that this is the way I phrase it. It probably sounds weird, but I want her life with God to be fragrant to me. I want something about the way that this girl pursues God, pursues God, to be, it's like I smell it and I see it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that smells so good. I want more of that. I want to be around that more. It's beautiful and fragrant to me. That is hands down the biggest attractor to me for a woman. And then I think outside of that, I guess maybe if I could respond in a somewhat different way, if I would say there was a quality that you should cultivate as a young woman that would be a great blessing to your future spouse, or would just generally be a blessing to all people actually, would be that you would watch your words, that you would speak grace, that you would speak life, that you would speak encouragement into people, and you would not tear down, you would not mock, you would not belittle. A woman can have extraordinary power with her beauty and with her words over the male spirit. And so I realize if you're not in community with people who would make what I'm saying sound like it makes sense already. If what I'm saying sounds strange to you, I'm sorry, but how you speak and how you bring life to people through words is one of the single greatest things you could cultivate as a character quality to attract a good man and to be a blessing to all the people you're around. If you're a Bible reader, Ephesians 4:29, Ephesians 5:4, and James chapter 3 all come to mind. Sorry, that makes me sound like a weirdo, but I love the Bible. Number 4, what can these girls hope for? What should they wait for? What should they expect from the guys they date and eventually, hopefully, marry? Oh gosh, I mean, if you don't love God, I respond in one way, and if you do love God, then I respond in another way. So I'm gonna speak to you as if you love Jesus. So what can you hope for? What should they wait for? What should they expect from the guys that date eventually? I hope it's Christ-likeness. I hope it is sacrificial love, the kind of love that when you receive it, it humbles you and you feel treasured and protected and valuable and unconditionally loved. I swear to you, there are men who are devoted to love and to sacrificial love, to Christ-like love, who aspire to be like him and who aspire to treat women like he did, with honor and with protection and with great weight and significance. So what I want you to hope for is a man who is like Christ. As close as possible, very flawed, of course. We're loaded with flaws. And so I think reading the Bible and talking about Jesus and who he was a perfect man. And he's a perfect human. And so men and women have everything to learn from him. But Jesus he's also head of the church in the same way that that a man is to sort of be responsible in his marriage. So Christ has everything to do with it. Sacrificial love. The kind of love that puts you first, like Christ did the church. Number 5, last one. Why is having sex with your boyfriend detrimental to the relationship? From a guy's perspective. From a guy's perspective. Detrimental relationship from a guy's perspective. I'll just offer it from a general perspective. I'm not sure how to offer it specifically from a male perspective. Why is it detrimental to the relationship? Here's how I sort of think about it. I think when you date somebody, when you're even a friend with somebody, I use the word entanglement to imagine it. When you're a friend with somebody, you become entangled with them. When you date somebody, you become very entangled with them. And the reason why I think entangling is a good word is because if a dating relationship breaks, you have to rip that apart. And what was previously entangled is now damaged. It's wounded, and it has to be healed for things to be back to normal, to be back to a place of flourishing. This is true with family members. This is true with friends. This is true with pets. We just are people that entangle. We unite in different degrees with others, with the things around us. And so when you date, there's a level of spiritual and physical and emotional involvement that is more than it is with friends. It is often more than it is with family, especially if you come from a broken family. And you're subjecting yourself, your soul, to become very wound up in the other person. And part of that is good. It's part of why it's so satisfying that God has made us to be in community and one with others. And so it feels right when our souls just go like, around others, you know? But it's also at great risk. The Bible teaches that essentially through sex, there is oneness. That's kind of let's just say that you could say that one flesh is for the time being made when you have sex with someone. And so that the level of entanglement of your soul with another person when you have sex is very, very great. That's why it's so satisfying, and that's why it's so wounding on the other side of it if there's a breakup. And so the girl I'm dating now has never had sex before, and I'm so grateful to God that He has protected her through that. And I have known women who have had sex multiple times and have entered into marriages, and so much had to be worked through, so much had to be healed by God, and so much patience was required. So I'm not sure how to respond to that in a really clean way. I just having sex with your boyfriend feels right. You're designed by God to have sex and be pleased by that. But you're designed by God to have sex and be pleased by that with one person who loves you unconditionally. It's not designed to be spent. It just leads to wounds. So, would you like your daughter to have a bunch of casual sex? Why? If you imagine being a mother and having a young daughter, do you long for her to have casual sex? If not, why? Why the ache for her to be protected like that? So, anyway, there's my improvised responses. Hopefully I wasn't too weird. And maybe this would be a blessing to you. There you go. All right, bye.